What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen, and you're listening to Sales Funnel Radio. I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio. How's it going, everyone? I am super excited for today. I have a very special guest on. Please go stop whatever else you're doing. Again, this is another one. Take a piece of paper out, write down notes, write down inspiring things that come to you. This is the kind of episode that not just has the ability to teach you a lot, but have a direct impact on the thickness of your wallet. I'm very excited for our guest today. I have known him for quite some time. I'm always extremely impressed with everything that he does. I want to welcome to the show, Derricks. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? Hey, thanks for having me. And for anybody that's listening, you need to if you're in the car, pull over, put your hazards on, just stop what you're doing, tell your dog to go away. You're about to get hit with some gold here.
This is awesome stuff. Thanks for being on. Anyway, I just been super impressed with you. I think honestly, the first time we met though was we were redoing the homepage of ClickFunnels, and Russell's like, I remember I came in one day and Russell was like, he's like, hey man, dude, I got Derricks, man. He's got to come on over and he's gonna help us rewrite all the copy for ClickFunnels homepage. And I was like, sweet, cool. Wait, who's this? He's the goat farmer. I was like, wait, there's a guy is a goat farmer who's an internet marketer? He's like, yeah. And then you came out and you showed up and he had overalls for all of us and like sweet straw farmer hats. And I was like, this guy is the man. And like ever since then, I've just been diving into your stuff. I'm super impressed with what you do.
Dude, thanks, man. I'm glad I have one fan.
Whatever.
No, that was so much fun. And don't forget what, by the end of that trip, what did you end up wearing home?
Oh yeah. So so he came in one day, just so everyone on the show, he came in one day, it was one of the last days, and he had a full chicken suit costume for me. What was the one you gave? You gave Dave a massive bear. Russell he was the gorilla, right?
Yeah, Russell was the gorilla. Dave was the bear. You were the chicken.
That's right. And I thought it'd be funny to ride that on my motorcycle home. So I did. And
yeah,
we'll put that in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah, please. And can we put the picture? Can we dig up the picture too?
Yeah, I'll go find the picture. I'm just writing that down.
Oh man,
chicken.
So good. Such a good sport, everybody. Steve Larsen, everybody.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Well, hey, just so if you guys don't know, if you're not aware, Derricks is one of the, I would say, foremost experts on this whole concept that I feel like is extremely kind of gray, cloudy. A lot of people don't understand it, but it's this whole thing around the Dream 100 and how to actually implement it. And you literally wrote a book on it, right? When did that come out?
When did the book come out?
Yeah.
I think it's been out for about 8 months, so probably about toward the end of 2017.
Okay, cool. Now, before you, we're doing Dream 100. So, first of all, how did you become an advocate of Dream 100? How did you start doing it yourself? Was it, I know the story, but for everyone else who's listening, like, how does a goat farmer, who's also a copywriter, who's also an internet marketer overall, product creator, go directly into Dream 100 stuff as well? Could you give us a little backstory there?
I know everybody at this point is probably thinking, Steven, what is wrong with you? Where did you find this guy?
Who's this guy?
Yeah, what's happening? So I guess a little bit of a backstory. They got me into the Dream 100 was I'm the type of guy that's going to try everything and then figure out what works and what doesn't. And when I figure out something doesn't work, I just keep moving. I always say, like, honestly, there's two things about me that work well. Like, number one, I'm too dumb to overthink things, so I don't get paralyzed by that. And then number two, for every 10 things I try, one of them works and I'm thrilled, right? Like, I'm so grateful for the other 9 that didn't work, so that I could get those out of the way to find the one that did, right? Huh. So, like, for me, like, I look at, like, Major League Baseball players, right? The best in the world on the planet go up to the plate and they end up getting a base hit or a, single, double, triple, home run only, like, 3 out of 10 times.
Wow.
Right? Like, nobody goes over 4 out of 10. So what's happening the other 7 out of 10 times? They're striking out. They're hitting the ball and getting it caught. Like, bad stuff's happening almost over 2/3 of the time. Yet like us in business, we go and try one thing, we step up to the plate, we expect to hit a home run, and then when we don't, we're like devastated and never want to, step up to the plate again.
Right.
So for me, I was not like, I wish I could share this like amazing story of like how like I fell in love with the Dream 100 and it was this love story. But the reality is, dude, I tried everything. So back in the days of Google SEO, Google AdWords, and then YouTube, and then Facebook, and then like all these things I tried and tried and tried, and I just like, it sucked, and I failed. I kept failing and failing, and then I realized like, wait a minute, like I was already doing the Dream 100 before I even knew what it was, and that was the only thing that ever worked for me. So that's why I got obsessed, doubled down. I wrote a book about it and all that other good stuff.
I mean, how did you first find out about it though? Is it straight from Chet Holmes' course, from Russell stuff, from where'd you learn about it?
So I actually first figured it out through Russell. I think he had something. One of his things was like the lost chapter on the Dream 100, and he just kind of described what it was, and then he was talking about Chet, and like I was like, oh man, I have sifted through many stacks of hay looking for this needle. Right? And I finally found it. And then I grabbed Chet's trainings, and it was like game over from there.
So what ended up happening? I mean, you read this thing and you go start implementing. Like, what did you do first? Because there's a lot of, I feel like there's just a ton of misconceptions. Everyone thinks it has to be this package or it has to be this. I don't know. I think we all overcomplicate it a bit. Like, what did you end up doing?
Totally. So, well, the first thing I think everybody thinks when they first learn about the Dream 100 is, oh my gosh, I've already kind of been doing that, right? I didn't realize it. So for me, the big epiphany immediately was, holy crap. So for those that don't know my story, like I grew up in a town of, I kid you not, 512 people.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, my graduating class was 30, and we had a big class.
Wow, so, cool.
Yeah, so we, my life growing up, because we didn't have a movie theater, we didn't even have a grocery store in town. We had nothing. We had a bunch of cows and not even a goat. Like, what the heck, right?
Right.
So football was our life, and I loved football so much that I didn't want to stop playing after high school. I wanted to play in college, and nobody from my school or area, for that matter, played in college or did anything after high school. Like it was just like, we're too small. Nobody knows about it. Like it's not for real. So right. I'm like, screw that. Like, so none of my coaches ever played college football. They don't know how to help with recruiting and all this. So I'm like, screw that. I'm going to do it myself then. And basically what I did is I created these first it started with, I printed out a list of like 40 schools that I potentially wanted to play football for. And then I made a packet for each school, like literally a box, and it had like a highlight tape, like a letter of recommendation from a coach, a personalized letter addressed to the coach that I was sending it to.
Wow.
All this stuff, right? And I mailed all 40, and I was like, all right, like, sweet, let's see what happens. 2 weeks goes by, nothing. I'm like, wow, that was a waste of time. Third week, I get called to the principal's office, which for me is not a good thing. Like, oh man, like what I do. I go in there and there's a football coach in there, and I'm like, whoa. He's like, are you Dana? I'm like, yeah, who are you? He's like, I'm Coach so-and-so. And he's like, I'm here to recruit you. And I'm like, what? You're here to recruit me? You came all the way to my town? He's like, yeah. And then, a day or two goes by, and then I get called back in, and suddenly there's two coaches in there from two different schools at the same time. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember my principal pulled me aside, and he's like, Dana, like, when is this going to stop? Like, it's really disruptive. I'm like, I'm sorry, Mr. C. It's like a broken firehouse. I can't do anything. So long story short, because of the Dream 100, I didn't even realize what it was at the time. I ended up getting a pretty major football scholarship. And I'm the only person that in this history of my school that's ever gotten any sort of athletic scholarship. And it's 100% thanks to the Dream 100. So that's like the first emotion you go through. I think when you learn about the Dream 100 is like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know about this sooner? I was already doing it. Like,
Right.
And then it turns into, how do I now like leverage the crap out of this in what I'm doing today, here and now? Right.
Sure.
So what I did just real quick was, I wrote out a list of my Dream 100, right then and there. And, I remember, I'll never forget, Russell was at the top of my list, and I looked at it. This was not that long ago either. This was only a couple of years ago. I looked at it. I'm like, there's no way I could ever get that guy to ever pay attention to me or do anything with me. Right? And I erased it. I literally erased it. And then I was like, oh, maybe, right? YOLO. So I put it back up on the side of the list, like with an asterisk. I'm like, maybe, right? And then fast forward, like, a couple of years, and then I go out and get to meet you and hang out with Russell and speak at Funnel Hacking Live and all this other crazy stuff, and it's all 100% thanks to the Dream 100.
So for everyone else also, before we started this, Dana is an amazing copywriter. He's amazing at Dream 100, and between those two topics, I asked him, I was like, which one do you want to talk about? And he said, which one do you want to talk about? I said, which one gets you the most frustrated and mad? And he immediately said Dream 100. Why is that? Before we dive into some like how you actually put this together, how come the Dream 100 gets you most ticked off compared to copywriting, which is also very important?
I love this question. So for me, it's because I feel like it's sort of a tragedy that most, like, every single business isn't, like, first of all, that every business doesn't know about it, number one, and that every single business or entrepreneur isn't using it. Like, to me, that is just such a tragedy. And for some reason, like, I still don't know why, but for some reason, when people think of traffic and like getting people into their funnels or eyeballs on their offers or whatever, like, they instantly think, oh, Facebook ads, right? I need Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like, that apparently is the only traffic source in the world, right? Like, it's just this crazy misconception. And the reality is the Dream 100 is a much, like, how do I want to say it? It's a much more sustainable approach because it will never go away. It worked 50 years ago. It works now. It'll work 50 years from now. And it's free. I mean, it's targeted eyeballs on your stuff for free. It's all about, it's really not that difficult. It's just building relationships with people. So I guess that fires me up, is like why everybody thinks they need to have Facebook ads or whatever else when they could be using the Dream 100 instead. Yeah,
I feel like maybe that is part of the issue, though, is like most internet marketers now we're just spoiled. I mean, it's before Facebook days. I mean, how did everyone get this traffic that they needed? It's exactly what you're talking about right now, and I feel like it's not that Facebook's a bad thing, but I don't know how to drive ads. Like, I don't want to go learn that stuff. I feel like Dream 100 is so much more long-term, sustainable, higher leverage sources of eyeballs than going and learning that stuff. So when you mentioned real fast, you said, okay, I went and it's funny because Russell was on my number one on mine also, and I was like, we'll see. I don't know. And how did you make your list? I feel like do you think that's the reason people actually never do this? Like one of the choke points, or like, how do you actually put it together?
I think that's a big one. And that's probably the most common question I'm asked when I'm talking about it. Yeah, is like, who is my Dream 100? Like, who is it? And I'm like, well, so finally I came up with a very simplistic equation that I can give you and your listeners if you want it.
Yeah, would love that.
So basically it doesn't start with your Dream 100. It starts with you and then your customer avatar, right? So like, it's literally this simple. Who is your customer avatar, right? And that to me is a function of who do you want, right, as well as who do you not want, right? So it's who you want minus who you don't want equals your customer avatar, right?
Sure.
And then, so I've got my customer avatar, because if you don't have that, then the Dream 100 is very complex, difficult thing because you don't know, right? So, all right, the next question is, where are your customer avatar? Like, where do they hang out, right?
Right.
Is it certain Facebook groups? Is it associations they're in? Is it, are they buying the same book? Are they all subscribed to the same software? Do they listen to the same podcast? Like, if you can figure out who your avatar is, figuring out where they are is not that hard. And then wherever they are, whoever owns and controls the group that they're in, the groups, I should say, or the audiences, that right there is your Dream 100.
Interesting. So you go from your customer avatar, meaning who you want and don't want, and then you go from where they are, and then who already has them.
Exactly. Boom. Done.
Who has them? I'm just taking notes.
Sure.
Who has them? Okay, so then from that point, like, so I'm just from like when I've launched a lot of stuff, and I've got Dream 100 stuff all over my office right now, and
nice.
What huge believer, huge believer. So I'm excited. I get to go. I feel like I mean, I like to sit down and start creating somewhat of a campaign for each one of these people with like a blend of personalization, but also my ability to do it kind of en masse. You know what I mean? To each one of these people. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, what do you do next to actually get a hold of them? Are you going one by one through each of them? Are you doing something mass that kind of blankets all 100?
Great question. So I actually, this is just a little bit off topic, but it helps to kind of illustrate this. So
go for it.
How I build like my system around like what's working is I like do everything the hardest, longest way possible. And then that becomes my system. So for example, if I launch a new offer for something, like if I have if I come out with a new $2,000 book, right?
Yeah.
I will find the person who is absolutely unqualified to buy it, who might want it, but who's totally, like, for example, maybe they're totally broke, right? And I will literally like go through and answer every single question for them and have 1,500 back and forths if I have to then have basically after the point of like first contact to the point where they actually buy the thing, which is like a humongously long like duration of time and effort.
Sure.
That is my system, right? So that is not my system because every single objection basically has already been taken care of. And those are all now scripts that I can use for the next person. So I do basically the same. That's how I look at everything. So for my Dream 100, like let's say I have a target and I'll use more of a short-term target. So like a smaller kind of a more accessible one. Because Russell, that's a long-term play, right?
Right.
But like a smaller one that, you could start the conversation with already is like, you definitely have the elements of personalization. So figuring out, and this all comes obviously from, so for those of you that are Dream 100ing Steven, you're in the right place because listening to his podcast is a great way to get his attention and get to know him. And the second secret sauce I'll tell you is buy all of his stuff. Okay. So there's a correlation usually between how much access you get to someone and how much money you've spent with them. So that is
fascinating, actually.
Yeah. Right?
Man, you're saying too much good stuff, man. You got to slow down. I can't write that fast.
I better. Yeah. So for me, it's like, I'll just like pick. So when you're starting out, it's really critically important to just just pick one that isn't years down the road. So don't go after Tony Robbins on your first one, but also don't go after somebody that is already in your network that you could get a yes from without even have to going through all the hoops of all the other stuff, right? And then just figure out what it is that can just showcase to them that you care about what they say and you listen and you consume their stuff and you buy their stuff, right?
Right.
'Cause I've had people, I learned this myself, like they're like, well, are you, because I've wanted to partner with software companies before, and they asked, well, are you a subscriber of the software? And I'm like, good question, right? Like, I should probably, get an account and like get to know it really well before I should expect them to want to do anything with me, right? So that's the beginning. Like if you're not already doing that, then it's going to be really, really difficult. But once you are, then because it's like you're part of the community, right? And
yeah. It's funny, man. So, like there's a few times I tried to reach out or someone reach out to me and they're like, well, how do I learn this? I'm like, are you serious? I have a course on this. Or like, there's been times when, anyway, I don't know how else to say yes, amen, like little hallelujah lights coming down. What he's saying right now, please visualize bright, shiny objects and things in the sky because that is so gold.
That's funny, man. But yeah, like if you think about it, it makes total sense too. Like if you're already in the other, like to take that a step further, is if you can contribute value to their community, right?
Right.
So like for me with Russell, like I love helping people, but like I'm not getting paid, and I'll go into the ClickFunnels community, the Facebook group or whatever, and I just go help people. I'm not there. I don't have an agenda. I don't have I'm not selling them. I'm just going in there and helping them. So if they have a question to something that I know the answer to, I'll spend 5-10 minutes helping them.
Which you're so good at, man. I've seen you pop around all over the place doing that. Like I watch you do that all the time. You're such an avid. Oh, it's awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, hey, see, I'm glad somebody notices.
I do, man. I turned back around. I'm like, man, this group it's not even active anymore, or this or that. And I'm like, man, Dana wrote a long, incredible response to that. Like, this is cool. He spent a lot of time on this.
So because like if you think about it, who's the perfect person for a guy like Russell to put on stage at his live event? Somebody that the community already knows, likes, and trusts. Right. Somebody that has invested in him and what he's building. And then not only like monetarily, I gave him a lot of money to get in his inner circle, right? Sure. But also like I spend quite a bit of time and energy and effort on helping his people for free. I don't ask for anything in return, So it's like that's like a deadly combination for anybody to how can you say no, right?
Right. Oh, interesting.
So if somebody's saying no to you, ask yourself those three things. Have I am I already buying their stuff and consuming their stuff and in the community? Am I contributing to the community? And have I what was the last one? Oh, I think have I given them a lot of money?
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So once let's say because there was some point when Russell's like, wow, I'm now aware of Dana, right? And you realize that he is, like, what do you do? How do you move forward? I feel like that's one of the other major questions kind of from the community that happens. They'll be like, well, like, what do I say to him next? Do I get, when do I drop, hey, will you probably my stuff? Will I, what's the steps forward after you've gotten their attention?
Great. This is like the second most frequently asked question is like, I don't know what to say to him, or like, I just feel like whatever, like, and I'll share quick, like, so Lady Boss, Brandon and Kaylin Poulin, amazing human beings. I work with them. They're in my intensive, I call it. It's kind of like a course mastermind blend.
Cool.
And they built a $10 million company off of paid ads. And I'm just thinking to myself, holy crap, if I could make $10 off paid ads, I'd be thrilled, right? And then we should probably try this Dream 100 thing. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should. Good question. Good idea. So 3 days before Funnel Hacking Live, Brandon, the action taker he is, he enrolled in my course, and then he's like, you know what, I got a guy I think I'm going to put in this spot. So because they're a big company, they can justify having a full-time affiliate or partnership management person, right?
Sure.
So he ends up being Brandon's brother, and his name's Jeff. He's awesome. And Jeff asked me 3 days before the event this exact question, right? Because Kaylin was going to be on stage, which is an amazing like opportunity for people to know Lady Boss, and I'm sure there are people in the sea of the 3,000 plus that they could potentially work with somehow, right?
Right.
So, or they know somebody that they could. So Jeff's like, Dana, he's like, I'm really new to this. Like, what do I say to people, right? And I'm like, Jeff, this is the only thing you have to make sure you say. Everything else, just be yourself, but this is what you have to say. Before you end any conversation, just ask the question, how can we help each other? That's it. If you can just get that question out there, they may not have the answer immediately, but at least it gets their mind going. And number one, it like tells them what your agenda is. It's not, hey, can you promote Lady Boss? No, like it's like, hey, we're like, we want to help each other, right? And that's kind of how it was for me as well with Russell. As I got on his radar, and then it's like, how can I help you with what you're doing? How can I help ClickFunnels, right? And then that's how it came to, hey, you could probably help me by coming out here and knocking out this copy for the homepage, right?
Right.
So a really long-winded way of saying, like, you can just always have that question in your mind, how can we help each other? That it just takes care of the rest.
It's interesting with that approach, which I absolutely love, because it comes from a place of friendship and adding value. I mean, you think about Dream 100. I mean, doing that 100 times. I mean, it's easy to see how. I mean, if you easily could have a full-time position with somebody just doing that alone, managing those relationships, working on the next pieces. Is there ever? What's the point in the relationship after you've been adding value? Because I'm sure it's different for everybody. We're all different, but is there a time where, because some of them probably come out and they go, hey, you know what, let me promote your stuff. But then there's probably other times you have to come back out and say, oh my gosh, he's not getting it, or maybe I do have to be a little more forward. Like, how do you approach somebody and say that without sounding, after you've given value, that they know you're there, they know you're there to help, you've clearly developed a relationship. What's the way that you approach them and say, promote my stuff?
Love it. So I basically relate it to marriage. So me personally, I would never get down on a knee if I didn't know like the gal was going to say yes.
Right.
I just don't want to be the next YouTube marriage proposal fail video, right?
Which are great to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, as a viewer. Yeah. But so I look at it the same way as I ask myself, have I built up enough goodwill with this person, right? Whether that's buying their stuff, consuming their stuff, being in their community, contributing to their community, or whatever, contributing directly to them. Like, have I done enough of that for them to say yes to what I'm going to ask? And if the answer isn't a clear yes, like I just keep giving value. And usually for me, it gets to the point where people will ask me, how can I help you? Like all the time. That's one of the most common asked questions I have is from people just when I see them at events and stuff, and is like, how can we help you? And then I'm like, well, let me think about that for a second.
Right.
And and then it's just the perfect. So that's the thing is like, can you confidently say yes? You built enough goodwill up for them to say yes. And then number two, if not, just continue to give them more value somehow.
That makes total sense. Okay. So we've gone through how you make the list, psychology of, I love your approach, by the way. That is just pure gold. Choose the hardest way possible because that becomes the system. That way all the objections pop up and you can address those in scripts, things like that. That's brilliant. How to actually, what do you do with the Dream 100 next? How can we help each other? On to promoting. Okay. You are notoriously known in the inner circle, in pretty much everywhere that who's ever come in contact with you for your incredible packages that you do send.
Man.
Could you talk a little bit about the way that you do that? I know that Dream 100 itself is not packages, but obviously that is a strategy and a method. Could you tell us a little bit about what it is that you're sending out and what you're working through as you go through each person? Because I've heard some pretty amazing stuff get sent around from you.
Oh man. Well, do I have your address? Better get it. Russell talks about, because somebody asked him this once, and he had a great response. He said that he likes to theme things, and I didn't even realize that, but that I was doing it. But he mentioned me as well. But he does superheroes, right? Right. So that kind of takes some of the question out of what you should be sending, is if you can latch onto a theme. So for me, obviously goats. Right. So I've got, let's see if I have one. Oh, I must have sent it out. Oh no, I have one. Hold on, wait for it.
Yeah. Is that the screaming goat thing?
That's the screaming goat.
Nice.
Oh, I got to get you one, man. Oh my gosh. That's the best way to crush any awkward silence ever, right there.
Just play that.
Yeah. So my stuff is really goat related. And then the other thing that I look at is, and the other thing, if you're creative, you don't have to spend a lot of money, because I know that's a concern for people. And at the end of the day, though, this stuff is so valuable. As soon as you get one yes, like everything's paid for.
Sure.
So I keep that in the back of my mind. That keeps me going. But as far as like making it stand out and be cool, because like I get stuff, people send me stuff, and I hope I don't care if they're listening or not, but like
it's a lesson. It's a lesson. We're all good, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I love you guys. Keep sending me stuff. There's a difference though between something that somebody personally put together in a box and somebody that just sends me a gift from Amazon, right, with like a gift card from, or like a, the typed out thing from Amazon. Yeah. Like both are cool, and you doing just the Amazon thing is better than 99% of people. Sure. But like there's something to be said about that hand touch and stuff. And so for me, like my creativity comes out because one of the things I sent to everybody in the inner circle that kind of got everybody kind of, I don't know, in a frenzy was
talking a lot.
Yeah, was a wizard stick. Yeah. So long story short, my dad lives in Texas. I'm in Wisconsin, and I like to send him Christmas gifts. So a couple years ago, I bought this weird, like weed puller thing where it's like you don't have to bend over to pull weeds out. You just it's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
And I opened it up from Amazon or whatever, and then I forgot, threw the box away, and then I was like, oh man, it's like 4:50 p.m. on a Friday. I need to get this out to my dad. So I went to the post office, and I'm like, do you have a box that this would maybe like work, like fit in? And they're like, no, not at all. And I'm like, oh crap. But he's like, the postmaster was like, but we could send it like that. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, like picture basically like a shovel, right? Essentially a shovel. He's like, we could send it just like that. I'm like, wait, what? You don't have to put it in a box? He's like, no. So basically, picture the shovel. They just printed off the label and then like stuck it to the handle of the shovel, and then the shovel got sent in the mail just like that, like no box. And so I'm like, huh, you don't have to put things in boxes. That's amazing. So I sent out these wizard staffs or whatever, and I zip tied a wizard hat on top and didn't put it in a box, and all these sticks essentially showed up at people's mailboxes, and it was just this big crazy like viral thing. And stuff like that that's just way more memorable and exciting when stuff like that shows up than just a box from Amazon, you know?
Let's say okay, so I've identified my Dream 100. I've contributed some things to the community. I really want to do things to grab their attention. What are some of how much money are you spending on each one of these packages? You mentioned it can be cheap, and sometimes that's better, but how much money per package do you expect? Or I guess that's the question. How much money do you expect to be spending on each one of them?
If I can keep it under, so it depends on the target too. I segment my Dream 100 with A, B, and C.
Oh,
so
really?
A's being like the top, B's being like middle, and then C's being like quick wins.
Okay.
Reason for that is because another thing that people ask is like, well, how high should I shoot? Like, right? Like, and if you have all like Russell, Gary V, Grant Cardone's on your list, like, it's not that it won't happen. It's just that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
So what I learned an expensive lesson from my football scholarship, and that was I ended up playing at a Division II school, which they still give great football scholarships, and mine was a huge one, but wasn't a D1 school because I listened to the doubt in my head that I was never good enough to play D1, so I didn't even print off any D1 schools.
Right.
And I really regret that to this day. So I just had B's on the list, and so if I'm looking at like typically for a B campaign or even some C's, if I can keep my packages at between $20 and $40 a piece, I'm pretty happy with that. But again, it comes with like pretty relentless follow up, because if you just send a box to somebody, good luck. Like you got to do more than that,
Right. Follow-up process. What does your follow-up process typically look like?
Oh man. So
because you're a beast at this, man. I'm pumped to hear this.
It's very extensive. So, oh man, do you want the whole, like not like the whole thing, but do you want to know the extent I go? Like,
Heck yeah, totally. I do. Because I feel like what people do is, let's say I go put the package together, I go to the mailbox, I drop the thing off. Boom, I've now done Dream 100. That's kind of it. And people kind of like rinse their hands. Yes, and I get my success cookie for the day, but it's really not over.
No, it's just beginning. Like
you're brilliant at this part. I'm so pumped.
Thanks, man. So that's like the gun. If you're running a marathon, that's the gun that just started the marathon.
Right.
Like you can go home with your marathon number on and you've dressed up and congrats, you participated, but you didn't finish. Right. So for me, it's like I'll send them for me, really the lumpy mail is permission to follow up with them. That's all it is. Because if I send somebody a gift card or I don't care, a wizard stick in the mail, like I have the right to follow up with you now. Right. Because I've spent money, invested time and money into you. Now, you don't have to work with me or say yes to what I'm asking, but you do have to reply. Like that's the decent thing to do. So I will then send them an email follow up. And it's never like, hey, did you get my email? Like, have you ever had somebody message you 17 times on 17 platforms saying, hey, did you see my email?
Yeah, I called you. And you're like, oh my, I know, I saw it. Okay.
Dude, yeah, like we saw it. Like
it drives me nuts.
Like, right. But if it's like, hey, did you see the package I sent? That's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, whoa, you spent money on me, right? And you took the time and energy to cut through and go to me in the mail, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, hey, did you get the box yet, like that I sent or whatever? And I'm not like, I'm never annoying about it, because like, I'll look at the tracking and make sure the thing was delivered before I'm like, hey, did you get the box? And like, they're like, no, what box? Right? It's like, so it's basically multi-channel follow-up. It's pretty, really it's extensive. So it'll go from, emails and Facebook messages and wherever, LinkedIn, whatever they are on. And then if I get no response from them and I know that they're potentially seeing my messages and I've gone through the extent of like, 2, 3, 4 weeks of follow-ups.
Right.
Next is a dodgeball in the mail.
Wait, you sent him an actual dodgeball in the mail?
Oh yeah.
So you're calling him out?
Oh yeah. If I have their address, they're so screwed, man.
I didn't know you do that. That's funny, man.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because you've replied to me. Yeah.
That's funny.
So dodgeball, rubber snakes work really well. It's literally, and it's always, here's the thing. It's always got to be around humor though and sarcastic.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just it wouldn't work. So like the dodgeball's like, come on, man, you're dodging me, like, and they know I'm not going to stop at this point, right? And then the rubber snake, I think it's just hilarious to think of the thought of them opening a box to see a snake inside. Like, yeah. It's just so funny. So I've never had to go past the snake, but the next one, this is kind of naughty, but I am prepared to send a certified letter with a W-9 inside that basically says, all right, man, have it your way. If you don't want to reply, then I guess you can pay the taxes on all the stuff I've sent you. It's all a big joke, but man. That's the extent. Like people don't see like they think you, like you said, they just send something and then all these good things happen, and it's not. You have to really.
You have to really keep going on them, and
and just being like not badgering them though either. Like
there's a line
value, Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so someone is the package. I've heard you say this before, but just for everyone listening, is the package the first thing that you send to them?
No. So what I've found is. I'm not sure the number, like the percentage, but like a lot, I'd say it's close to half, probably close to half of the Dream 100 deals I've made. I've never had to send anything in the mail.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's more of like, it's in the tool belt. It's like a special kind of like drill, right? You can use it when you need to, but you don't have to use it.
Right.
So for me, it's like more so cutting through the noise and then giving me permission to continue to follow up.
Interesting. Okay. You just turn up the heat when you get to packages.
For sure. And then also though, it's also about nurturing too. So I send my existing affiliate and Dream 100 people, like my number one affiliate last year, I sent him I think I probably told you this before, but I sent him a big screen TV and surround sound just out of the blue, right? Wow. Just to keep him happy. And yeah, so that's when it comes back in, is really just spoiling people and giving them gifts and all that good stuff.
So, okay, so I mean, you've given a lot of ways to be able to actually pull this off to get attention. As far as like pulling off a JV with them, and then could you go through some of the practices that you have when someone says yes? Like, yeah, I'm super excited to drop out. My people to you, Dana. I've heard a lot of people to go by. I don't know, they'll put like a URL up, or I don't know. There's a whole lot of like small little isms and little practices that are out there. Do you mind going through just a few of those?
Yeah, sure. So is this like, what's the goal to get them to promote?
I guess as far as like they've said yes, as far as pulling off the JV with them, what are some of the things that you do to make that go smoothly?
Sure. Great question. So the number one hurdle that you'll have to get through first is getting them to actually do it, because all these people will tell you yes because they don't want to disappoint you or whatever, but few will actually follow through and do the promotion.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Russell talked about this too. He said, I don't know if he voxed me this or where I heard it, but he said for every 100 people you target, you'll probably only end up with maybe about 6 that actually do the promotion with you. And of those 6, probably only about 3 will actually be worth all that time and energy.
Totally believe that.
Yeah. Right. So,
yep.
So I break it down like this and my students do it this way. So it's like, first things first, we gotta, like, once we're to the point where we think we can ask, we do. And then when they say yes, we're always selling the thing that sells the thing. So it's not like it's getting the calendar, like getting it penciled in on the calendar. That is like the next win we need. That's what we're trying to sell. Right. Because if we can get that dang spot locked up, I can remember people, I was on the phone with the CEO of very well-known company in our space. And he's just like, yeah, we're booked through whatever. And I'm just like, dude, you know what? That's totally cool. Let's just do October. All right. How's that? Like, October clean for you? He's like, yeah. Okay. And then I'm like, all right, cool. How about the 12th? And then just getting it on there. Cause if they're going to be like, oh, I want to look at my schedule. I have to calendar. I have to get back to you or whatever. But more friction, right? And
sidestep, yeah.
So and I have found too, like, where it was, excuse the sirens, it's a big deal for a town of 1,000.
You're good, man. Fire. No worries.
So like, also I've been surprised too, where like I had it penciled in and I'm thinking, yeah, they just told me that so I would keep them happy or keep me happy. And then they actually did do it on that date and time. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. So that's the first big thing. And then making sure that you take everything off their plate. Because the minute they think that they're going to have to lift a finger for this, they don't want to do it. Right. Yeah. So from beginning to end, man, we do every single thing. We will create all the swipe files for them to send out. We'll create all the I call them co-branded funnels. So if we're pushing a webinar, for example, it'd be a co-branded webinar funnel. We will offer to host a webinar if they are cool with that. And then we deliver everything to them about like 2 weeks in advance, just so that everything's done. And then we follow up and make sure. That's what's really cool about having an affiliate manager, is that they kind of take care of all that. But like, we'll make sure that every step of the way is covered, so they don't have
fascinating. Oh man, that's super. Okay, wow, that's crazy cool. And what do you do when you? Because I mean, I'm sure it happens, right? You go out and you're getting. I mean, I've had this happen also. Like, right, you go out and someone says yes, you get the few yeses, right? 6 say yes, 3 actually do it. What do you do with those other 3?
Good question. So,
is that when you send in the W-9?
No, so if they've said yes, but you just haven't got it scheduled yet. Yeah. Right. So I would try and just throw it way out in the future. And if you still don't, then there's something there. They want to do something with you, but apparently the way that it presented was like, that might not be what they're actually going to be comfortable doing. Right. So I would look at trying to downsell it somehow. So if it was originally we're going to do a joint venture webinar together, maybe starting out with a Facebook Live might be better, right? Or something that's a little bit easier for them to not have to fully commit to, or even just like doing an email to their list or something like that, because even that's going to be better than nothing. And if you look at, that's another thing that is pretty cool. So if you can do something successful with them, even if it's something small, you can go back to them and do something big. So, look at Russell with Grant Cardone. He went to 10X last year and basically wasn't given, he got on stage and he was allowed to pitch kind of, but he wasn't allowed to do, half of what he asked to do. Right, the true Russell style. Exactly, right? Yeah. Grant's like, oh, we're going to do it my way. He's like, okay, fine. And Russell did it Grant's way, got some wins out of it, but then look what happened the next year. Russell got to go there and call the shots. He said, I want this, I need that. Grant and his team said, okay, whatever. You proved yourself last time. And then, boom, closes $3 million in an hour and a half, right? But he would have never been able to do that had it not been the year before, right? Doing it Grant's way, doing it smaller, doing it, in a way that Grant was more comfortable with.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Okay. I know I'm just pounding you, man. I got one more question for you. scenario is, right, you go off, you've done the successful ones with the 3. You're obviously continuing to work and warm up the leads for the other 97 as you go through. With the ones that you have done it with, though, what's kind of your play as you move forward? Are you hitting them again for the next promo? Are you, I guess, post-successful campaign? What kind of actions do you usually take with that person?
Yeah, so for me, it's especially like once you figure out who's good. For me, it's like, how can we integrate? So I just want to take it to the next level.
Interesting.
So for me personally, like, let's say that I'm JVing with somebody for my course, and we do a webinar together, kill it. We do 5-6 figures together, whatever. I want to work with that person. I don't want to just do once a year or once a quarter. I want like full on, how can we work together? So I always offer, what I've been doing a lot is, I'll create a bonus module for whatever their thing is. If they've got a course, I'll come in there and basically teach a bonus module, or I will throw in my book in their value stack or whatever, just so that I can get not just access to their audience on the one-off promotions, but so for every single buyer that comes into their world, they see me, and the affiliate doesn't have to do a thing. Right. So, and it comes back to value. Like this module I make, it's not like a pitch necessarily. There might be call to action. There is a call to action, of course, but it's just value. And it's always enhancing the thing that they already sold. That's kind of the secret there. So I look at integration after a successful one.
Oh man, that's interesting. That's so cool. Man, you have just divulged. I have a full page of notes, just given so much, and I just appreciate that like crazy. I mean, right? There's only a few people that have ever really even written about this topic. Right, the Chet Holmes, amazing Chet Holmes, Russell himself, and you. Like, that's it, man. Like, those are the options. I know you have a book that has come out and is amazing. You have a lot of people. I have a lot of people who'd come and the book's incredible, and I'm very, very excited for it. Where can people go get the book? How do they find out more about you and follow you?
Yeah, for sure. So for anybody that's kind of vibing with this and you're like, oh man, like that sounds a lot better than learning Facebook ads or running after the next shiny object. Like Steven and I are totally Dream 100 like junkies, and I'd love for you guys to do the same. So it's called the Dream 100 book. I actually had the foreword written by Russell. It's pretty cool. I think Steven's read it, but there is a caveat. Actually listen to Steven's advice. So one of the things you have really made famous, Steven, is the concept of sell it before you make it.
Right.
Right. Which I love, by the way. And I actually did that. Steven said to do that.
No way.
Yeah, dude. So I sold a copy of the Dream 100 book, my first copy, for $2,000 before I wrote one page of it.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. And because Russell says writing a book is similar to giving childbirth, which is probably true. None of us know, but it's probably true. And so there was no better incentive to write a book than to have somebody on the hook for $2,000 that's waiting for it, right?
Right.
So anyway, that's the caveat. It is $2,000. However, because Steven was so gracious to put on a chicken suit and drive around in a motorcycle in Boise, Idaho.
I secretly just loved it. I was excited.
Yeah. I mean, if he didn't like it, he was putting on a good show. So for you guys listening, if you're vibing with this, I'm actually going to let you guys get a copy of it for free.
Holy crap.
I don't do this really for money that much anymore. So I'm cool with that as long as you guys don't share this with the rest of the world.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
They'll have some mad buyers that paid $2,000 for it. But so the link is going to be listentostephen.com. Listen to Stephen.
Sweet. Yeah. That's cool, man. Appreciate that. It's STEPHEN. Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome.
The good spelling.
Yeah, the good spelling, right? The biblical way. No, but seriously, just to echo what Dana's saying here, like. What a funnel's nothing without traffic. And especially as an entrepreneur, and those of you guys who are listening, I know you guys are go-getters. This podcast is getting a significant amount of downloads daily now, and I thank you all for listening. But what I want you to know, like, and that's the way that I think about it too. Russell thinks about it. Dana thinks about it. Like, all these top guys, they're not out looking usually for like this little tiny trick inside of a platform, right? A Facebook trick, a Twitter trick. They're not looking. That's not how they do it. Instead, they outsource that piece of it because we all know it's still important. And they go focus 100% of the time on developing these kinds of relationships. So anyway, I'm super excited. That is very, very generous of you to give that, Dana. It says listen to Steven.com.
Totally. And you all should listen to Steven. Keep listening to him.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks for being on the show, man. And where can everyone else go follow you as well?
So being the farmer I am, I don't think I'm on Instagrams. I'm over on Facebook or DanaDerricks.com. Or just keep listening to Steven, and every once in a while I'll probably pop up. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for being on the show. And everyone go to listenstosteven.com and get a free copy of it's literally called Dream 100. Was $2,000 for this audience is free.
Go get it.
Boom. Just try to tell me you didn't like that. Hey, whoever controls content controls the game. Want to interview me or get interviewed yourself? Grab a time now at stevejlarsen.com.